Hi, I'm Kesenya and I'm your Astro Weather Girl here with this week's weather report. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, first thing is first, we have a massive eclipse coming up, falling here. Whoopsies, get this the right way up. Falling between the moon down here in Cancer and the sun in Capricorn, so they make an opposition there. So that is the first thing that's playing out this week. Now at 20 degrees of Cancer, where the moon is falling, sits this beautiful fixed star Castor. Castor is a beauty and artistry star, and it is going to be giving the energy of itself to this eclipse. So we've got a lot to be thankful for this beautiful star playing into this eclipse. It gives mental health, it gives a dignified persona, gives the ability to be very well known in life, it gives musical and athletic abilities as well to people, and creates a good business acumen. One of the reasons why Cancer has this energy of being good business people is the role of Castor in the constellation of Cancer. Plus, it also gives a very beautiful persona. So if you have Castor conjunct a very significant point in your chart, it will be giving you these energies as well natally, but this eclipse is going to carry that as well. So we need this beauty, this music, this athleticism, this great capacity for beauty and artistry to feed into this eclipse and bring some balance to this eclipse, because hello, what's sitting opposite where the sun is? Pluto Saturn conjunction. Now, as I spoke of in last week's video, the Pluto Saturn conjunction is exact to the degree on the 6th, but we will also be feeding into an exact degree to the minute on the 12th or 13th, depending on where you are in the world. So 2 days after this eclipse. It's all combining together, people. So we need this help and this support from Castor as the energies are so intense. So we need that balance, that beauty, that artistry, that refinement that's coming from this fixed star feeding into this eclipse. So thank goodness for that. Now, when we have a lunar eclipse, the moon is actually receiving no light. And this is because the Earth moves in between. It sits in between, directly in between the sun and the moon. And of course, the shadow of the Earth falls on the moon, which blots the moon's energy out. So it's giving no light. Her energy essentially is eclipsed. So a full moon, therefore, in our personal charts means endings and culminations. If you think about the cycle of the moon, it starts as a new moon, which it did 2 weeks ago here with an eclipse of the sun in Capricorn, and then it spends 2 weeks growing until it reaches its fullness, which it's doing this week here on the 10th. And then from there on, it's going to wane and get less and less and less. And in Vedic astrology, a waning moon is considered to be a malefic, but a waxing moon is considered to be a benefic. So you might like to check out if you've got a waning or a waxing moon in your natal horoscope. But up until this point, it's been building, it's been growing, it's been reaching a point of fullness. And so when it reaches that point of fullness, it can't get any bigger, it can't get any better, it can't get any brighter, and then it starts to wane and fall away. So it means the fruition, the fullness, as big as it's going to get with whatever we set intentions for 2 weeks ago. And so it also means the ending of something, the culmination of something, when this is actually becoming an eclipse as well, within proximity of the nodes. That's what causes the eclipses, as I spoke of in my video 2 weeks ago. So you might like to refer to that video. I'll put a link here for you. It's going to share with you the details about how eclipses work, how they line up in the sky, and what to expect and look for in terms of manifestation from eclipses, when we can expect manifestations of eclipses to occur. And this lunar eclipse means more of life's big events are on the way for us because of this. And this is especially true for people with planets at 19, 20, 21 degrees of Cancer, of Capricorn, of Libra, and of Aries. Now, I have my moon at 23 degrees of Libra, so I'll be feeling this eclipse as well, because it's within that, what I would like to give a 5-degree orb of the eclipse point, and so it'll be squaring my moon in Libra. What's it squaring for you? What's it opposing for you? What's it conjuncting for you? Check out your chart and find out. Or if you don't know and you'd like a reading, you can contact me and I can do that for you. As I said, Pluto and Saturn are forming part of this eclipse as well. So their energy of purging and releasing and transformation, karmic letting go of, fears, traumas from past lives, and the energy of restructuring something in our lives is playing into this eclipse in a very big way. So you might like to check out my video from last week. I'll put a link here for that you can actually explore what I had to say about that and how it's affecting you at a personal level. But the energy of this eclipse is going to be massive, massive. It's going to be hugely transformative because of Saturn and Pluto's conjunction as part of this energy, all within 1 to 2 degrees of one another. It's going to be a huge eclipse, like the likes of which we've not seen possibly in our lifetime because of the massive nature of Pluto-Saturn conjunction right on the point of eclipse. So get ready. But we've already, as I said in my last week's video, we've already been feeling into this energy. It's in the ether. Some of us have been tapping into it for, months, even years, feeling the change, the transformation, because the transformations brought by the conjunction of these two planets is just so big, so huge, so impactful. Our journey through the 20s is not going to be like the teens in this decade at all. It's going to be very, very different, brought about by the transformations that this energy will bring. Now, Mercury is also involved. You can see a little Mercury up here connecting with this energy as well. So our communication could be disrupted because of this. So this could be actual communication devices. It could be communication apps and technologies, or it just could be that our communications with other people could be very disrupted by this eclipse. We might be misunderstood. We might have difficulty expressing our views and our ideas, or they might not be very well received by other people. So that could play into things with Mercury being a part of this as well. So watch out for that. Lunar eclipses, though, they are very emotionally based. Whereas the solar eclipses tend to be more connected to the ego and so forth. The moon is our emotion. So lunar eclipses are when we feel a change in our emotional life, and it brings final endings to an emotional way of being. Solar eclipses can bring more opportunities and new beginnings. Lunar eclipses are much more connected to the idea of endings and conclusions. So if you've been feeling emotionally one way towards somebody, or you have been feeling in a dark place or whatever, you can look to this lunar eclipse as perhaps being the conclusion of that cycle, and you're about to embark on a new emotional cycle or emotional relationship with somebody in your life. We can feel very sentimental. That's the nature of the moon and the sign of Cancer as well. To feel sentimental, to sometimes feel a bit nostalgic and feel quite emotional. So, make sure you've got the tissues on hand to have a big cry if you need to go. I like to, being a Pisces person, I like to go into the shower when I'm feeling down and just have a right royal weep and watch my tears roll down the drain. And the water because I'm very water oriented, washes a lot of the emotional pain that I feel sometimes away. So being that this moon is in Cancer, you might like to do something similar, or just allow yourself space to feel emotional, because that's going to be the nature of this lunar eclipse. And we also, as is the nature of a water sign, need to be very flexible right now. Very, very flexible, or else we can find that the rug might be ripped out from under us in some way. So keeping our emotions flexible, keeping our attitude open right now is imperative to being able to navigate this time with more ease and more skill. If we're locked down, if we're stuck, if we're digging the boots in and saying no, then we can expect to be confronted in some way in our life by a person or by our emotional feelings. We need to keep flexible, and we will navigate this energy better. The truth can arrive with a lunar eclipse. The truth arrives in a very probably in a powerful, impactful way. Hidden things can be revealed now. So if you've been in a situation, maybe you've been dealing with hidden enemies or fighting with somebody, the things can be brought into the light now, can be illuminated now about that person. And we find that with lunar eclipses, the true character of people is often revealed for the world to see. And it might not be pretty. I had an experience about 1.5 years ago with a boss that everybody thought was wonderful, and then we went through this lunar eclipse period and everyone realized just what a control freak and what a bit mentally imbalanced person she actually really was. So the truth does come out with lunar eclipses. It will come out about you, and it will come out about your people that you interact with, your enemies, as well as your friends. So you might find out some things about people, particularly women, because the moon rules women, and so does the sign of Cancer, is a very feminine energy, and as is Capricorn also. You might find out that a woman in your life, or some women in your life, are not what you thought they were, and their true character is revealed at this time. So it can be quite disconcerting. I would encourage everybody to make sure that their house is in order, so that when this eclipse occurs, you're not going to be the one who's exposed to the world for who you really are if you're hiding something. We can have unexpected changes of direction with a lunar eclipse as well, especially if your sun, your moon, or your ascendant, the rising degree, is at this around about 22 degrees. Obviously me with my moon, anything represented by my moon, which I don't need to go into what that is, I guess, but anything represented by my moon and what my moon rules in the chart can be altered now, and my direction in life can change completely because of this eclipse. So if we keep flexible and we're prepared for what is to come, we can flow with this change without too much upheaval. That's my aim. Fingers crossed I can pull it off. But important people with a lunar eclipse can also be eclipsed out of our lives as well. This is part of what can happen. Like I said, a female might suddenly disappear. They reveal themselves for who they are, and you're like, oh my God, and you have nothing more to do with them ever again, because you're like, the true character has been revealed. So important people can be eclipsed out of our lives, and sometimes this is for the best. Okay, so we can lose a friend, we could lose a colleague, we could lose a boss. It doesn't mean they're going to die, but it might mean that we just suddenly have nothing more to do with them ever again in life. You move to the other side of the country, or they just stop all contact and you never hear from them again. It's something where they are removed from your life. That's more likely to be the case than someone dying. So it is for the best. Keep that in mind. If you lose a friendship, if you lose a relationship with a woman, sometimes it can be a man, depending on, just for example, say if your son was being triggered, then it could be a man that's eclipsed out of your life. But whoever it is for a higher purpose. Keep that in mind. So don't take any big actions now. This week is an excellent week to lay low. Go on holidays, stay at home if you can, or keep it cool at work. Just don't get involved in any dramas, and don't instigate any actions that could come back and haunt you big time. Okay, the karmic repercussions of what unfolds at this time is going to be huge, so keep things pure, keep things light. So karmic seeds of goodness, kindness, gentleness, love, anything of purity, sow it now, because they will reap karmic rewards in the future. Watch your actions, watch your words, and watch your mental processes now. It's a time for being very active, very aware, and very conscious, and so that we can sow and prepare our lives in a healthy way for the future, and not cause karmic seeds of horror to be sown and therefore reaped in the future. In my life, I'm going camping, and so this video I'm pre-recording prior to that event, because I'll be away camping at this time this airs, and laying low, playing it cool, reading a book by the river, and just meditating and getting close to nature. And I encourage everybody, if you have the chance, do the same, even if it's just for a day over this period, to get away from your ordinary everyday routine and find a place of escape as we navigate through this period of our history. I want to also encourage you to reflect upon what was happening in your life 19 years ago, because it's whatever was occurring back then will be getting a repeat. And if you didn't deal with some issue, some realm of life well 19 years ago, it might be coming back and repeating now for you to address and actually up level from. As I said, my moon's being activated by this eclipse, and 19 years ago, my ex-husband and I, we were building a home together, and we were about to move into our new home that we had spent or 18 months building. We built it ourselves. It was a kit home and we were about to move into it. So I look back and reflect on what were my attitudes and beliefs around that time of life. The moon represents the home, and here I was about to move into my home. What's happening with my home currently now in this day and age of my existence on this planet, in this incarnation? How am I dealing with my home? What issues have I got with my home? What are my attitudes towards my home? So that's what I'm reviewing. But you might like to look back at your own life and see what was occurring for you 19 years ago at around 2000, and see what was very strongly happening in your material realm, as well as your attitudes, your emotions, and your beliefs at that time. That will very definitely be coming back into play. You might have to readdress something, or you might be celebrating how far you've come through this eclipse. So that is the first energy that we're looking at this week, and it's a doozy. But there will be more to come, because on the 11th, the day after this eclipse, we got Uranus down here in the sign of Taurus, turning direct at 2 degrees of Taurus. We've been waiting for this. This is going to mean all the planets are direct, every single one of them. So finally we get some momentum. When the planets are all direct, we're pushing forward in the material realm. Our material lives, like our circumstances we live in, our interactions with other people, our homes, our jobs, everything that happens on the earthly plane rather than the spiritual plane, the earthly plane starts to move forward and get some progress and start to move ahead. There's growth, there's more opportunities that come. Projects and plans move forward. Relationships start to move forward instead of being stuck, instead of being stagnant. Luck can now be on our side with all the planets moving forward. There can be rapid life progress now. So if you've wanted a rising career, or if you've wanted to receive more money from what you do in life, or if you've wanted to have a more solid relationship now, or work out relationship problems, things start to manifest in that realm. You know, your spouse might say, let's go to counseling and sort out these issues. You're like, beauty, I've been asking for this for months, and finally you can make some progress there. You might get a job offer that you've been putting in for new jobs because you wanted to step up that career ladder, and now it might come to you. You might find that your relationship with your mother changes in a more positive, progressive way. When all the planets go direct, the facets of our life in the earthly realm start to move forward instead of being stuck and stagnant. And this is going to last for roughly a month or two, and then we're going to have planets starting to go retrograde. It's actually going to be a big retrograde year, because this year is going to see Venus and Mars both going retrograde at various points in the year. So we need to lap up and enjoy this energy of progress and forward momentum while it lasts. Life now is going to be more externalized while all the planets are direct, rather than internalize. When planets are retrograde, we tend to internalize various aspects of life, thinking about them a lot, pondering on them a lot, stewing over things a lot. And now when the energies go direct, we've got the green light to move forward in the outer world reality. So it is an exciting time when we see planets going direct. So that's happening on the 11th. And then on the 12th or 13th, depending where you are in the world, we've got the conjunction of Pluto and Saturn. Once again, I'm not going to go into that in this video because I talked extensively about it for almost 2 hours last week in last week's video. So refer back to that for all the juicy details about you and how it will affect you personally. But now it is going to be playing out at the exact minute in the chart on the 12th and 13th. And then on the 14th, Venus will move into Pisces. So let's put Venus in Pisces just to line her up there. Venus is going to move into Pisces, and this will be another special occurrence as well, because Venus is exalted in Pisces. This is happening on the 14th of January. Venus loves to be in Pisces. It's a beautiful energy for Venus. You've got to ask then now on the 14th, what does Venus rule in your chart, and what does Pisces rule in your chart? Where, in the case of Venus, where does Libra fall for you? Where does Taurus fall for you? And therefore, what realms of life are going to get a bit of a boost now? What realms of life are going to be uplifted and upheld now as Venus moves into a sign of exaltation? Those are the realms. Wherever Libra falls, wherever Taurus falls, are where you're going to feel lighter, where you're going to feel more able to accomplish and enjoy life. So check that out. Where does that fall for you? Venus rules Libra. Now, as I've already stated, Libra is making a square. Here is Libra here, squaring, making a 90-degree angle to all this hoo-ha in Capricorn, and obviously the full moon in Cancer as well. So this is really good timing to have the ruler of Libra moving into its exaltation. It's going to ease off the effects for anyone with planets in Libra, because Venus, its ruler, is going to be exalted. So that's also going to be a blessing for us. Now also, as many astrologers have talked about, there are going to be 5 planets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets and the nodes falling in the sign of Capricorn. It's a very strong energy for activation and manifestation at the moment. You might have heard Lada talking about Mercury, Jupiter, and the ruler of Capricorn, Saturn, being together in the one sign, which is a Gemini astrology yoga, if you want to call it a yoga combination. That's what yoga means. It's a union of planets that are going to bring benefit and manifestation opportunities for us. So there's a great deal of blessing there. Even though the Pluto-Saturn conjunction is considered to be hard work, even though eclipses can bring sudden change and upsets, we've got this beautiful energy of blessing and manifestation through all these planets in Capricorn that are really directing things in a more positive way, combined with Venus on the 14th moving into Pisces, and we could have some seriously good support for our journey. So let's whiz through the signs now and see how this is playing out. Where are we having a sense of final endings, the changes of directions? Where do we need to remain flexible in our lives, according to what this eclipse is going to bring us? And also we'll be exploring where Taurus and Libra fall, and therefore how they're going to be upheld and supported at this time as well. So if you happen to be, just find my little pen here, if you happen to be Aries rising, well, obviously it is the energy of your 10th house and 4th house that is being affected. So mainly it's 4th house where you're going to experience some kind of final endings, some changes of direction, and it's in 4th house realms that you're going to need to stay flexible. So this might be in your relationships with family. You're going to need to keep flexible, can expect some changes of direction. So the relationships with family might change, maybe your home life might change, maybe you are looking for a new home or a new apartment, and you find one. And so your home, actually your physical home, can change through this energy right now. So that can play out that way. You need to be flexible about where you live, about where you reside. You might be doing some renovations to your home, and you might need to be a bit flexible about how that unfolds and what that actually looks like for you now. You will also might receive some changes of direction with regard to the community that you're part of, and how you're interacting with your community and your relationships with the community. So keep that in mind as well. For Aries rising, Libra is your 7th house and Taurus is your 2nd house. So it's in these realms that you might need to, it's in these realms that you might be blessed through the ruler of these two signs being in its exaltation. So your finances might be blessed, your self-love and self-worth might be blessed, your security. Taurus is very much connected to the idea of being secure in life. It can be blessed right now. You might feel a greater inner sense of security and stability in your life. Also, 7th house, your relationships can be blessed at this time with the ruler of your 7th being in its exaltation. So you might find that your relationships get a bit more sparkly, a bit more light, a bit more airy. And this can be business partnerships and connections with your audience and clients as well that we see through the 7th house. So there can be blessing in that way for Taurus people. Aries people. Taurus people now, with Taurus rising, well, the moon is falling in your 3rd house. And so it's in this realm that you're going to need to stay flexible, that there might be some changes of direction now occurring in the 3rd house, and there might be some final endings in some way. So this could mean that, you might need to be flexible about a short trip you're about to take. Maybe you were planning on going for a couple of days to Austin, Texas or something, and then some hiccup occurs and you find you're going to have to detour via Dallas or something. So there can be changes of direction, literally, for you guys. The 3rd house rules short travels, and it also rules small businesses. So there might be some endings to a small business association that you've had. There might be some changes of direction with a small business that you run. You might change direction. Say you might decide, you know what, I can't use that marketing person anymore. They're duds. I'm going to find somebody else. You might find that, you know, your advertising campaign that you've been running was a complete waste of time, and so you find a new advertiser who can do you a better campaign. You might need to remain very flexible about who you work with as a small business owner. You might need to remain very flexible about what studies you're doing. This is the house of skills and skill development, how you learn, what you're learning. So you might need to be flexible there, and there might be a change of direction there in some way for you as well. So lots of alterations and need for flexibility regarding what you learn, how you speak, how you communicate, how you network with other people, and also any small business endeavors that you are running. So Libra and Taurus, for you guys, well, obviously Taurus is your first house and Libra is your sixth house. So it's in those realms that are both governed by Venus, now in exaltation from the 14th of January, that you can find ease and blessing now. Things get a bit lighter in terms of your journey through life, Taurus, which is represented by the first house there, and also sixth house, your work, your everyday routines, your health, your well-being can just sort of get a bit lighter. Maybe you've been having some health struggles or something, and then Venus moves into Pisces and the health struggles dissipate a little bit. You find things a little bit easier. It's easier to put a new diet into action. It's easier now to undertake some sort of health care, because Venus, the ruler of your house of health and well-being, is now exalted in Pisces for a little bit. So if you are Gemini rising, boom, Gemini rising, well, the moon, the lunar eclipse is falling in your second house. So it's in the second house realm that you're going to need to stay flexible. Flexible with regard to money, flexible with regard to your sense of security and stability in the world. The second house is our security. The second house is our stability. And so your inner self-worth and security and stability, how you value yourself, how you honor yourself, as well as your external security and stability, the material goods that you have that uphold your journey through life, are seen by the second house. So there can be some final endings regarding material goods. You know, maybe you've been collecting artworks for years and this eclipse occurs and suddenly you've got that final piece you've always wanted. You don't need any more. You don't want any more. That's done. I've collected all I want to with that particular item. So some final ending of a collection that you've been wanting to achieve. A change in direction with regard to money. Maybe you've always made money in XYZ way. Maybe it was through being an art dealer. And suddenly you decide, I've had it with being an art dealer. I'm not going to do that. Or maybe I'll start doing that on the side now, and I want to make tarot card reading my mainstream source of income. You know, so you can have a complete change of direction with this eclipse energy in your second house regarding finances and money. This is also, as I said, an area you're going to need to remain flexible. You know, the more open to change you can be, Gemini people, regarding money, regarding where it's coming from in your life, how you're generating it, the more you stand to be blessed through this eclipse. So keep flexible. Expect some endings with regard to the situation you're currently in with finances and money and resources, and expect a change of direction. And it's all going to be for your higher good and your blessing. Now, Libra and Taurus, which are ruled by Venus, are falling as your 12th house. And here is Libra, down here is your 5th house. This is where life is going to get a little bit lighter for you, a little bit easier for you, because the ruler of these houses has moved into its exaltation in Pisces. And so for you Gemini people, Gemini rising, sun or moon, it's in the realm of creativity and spirituality, spiritual connection, karmic release and letting go. That's going to become easier for you now. You'll have good connection to spiritual insight. You'll have good creative downloads. Karma will unfold for you in the more blessed ways. You know, the karmic seeds you've sown are going to ripen for the more blessed ripenings rather than the more malefic ripenings. And of course, here in the house of children, love, and creative self-expression, that's also going to be blessed, and you'll find love will come more easily for you now. You'll feel more enamored with your partner, or your connection with your children will flow with ease now. And lightness, where maybe there was some arguments before or some challenges before, things will lighten up, things will become easier for you in that realm as Venus moves into its exaltation. Cancer. Well, this eclipse falling in your first house, my goodness, this is a biggie for you guys. This is how you journey through life. This is your ability to thrive and to survive and in this incarnation, in this body that you are in this lifetime. So this is where you might find some final endings. This is where you might find a change of direction now with this eclipse. This is where you're going to need to remain flexible. Your ability to survive in this world, I mean, this is what comes first. The second house rules our resources and what we need to support our body's journey through life. But first of all, you've got to be healthy. You've got to survive. You've got to be able to journey through this life in order to get the resources to support your journey. So your health and well-being, maybe you've been struggling with some mental illness, maybe you've been struggling with a health concern of some sort, and this eclipse can bring an ending to that, a finalization of that, a conclusion of that. There can be a change in direction regarding your body's health and well-being for the better. Because remember, eclipses, even when they bring sort of wobbly situations sometimes, they're designed to help us up level, go to the higher realm. So, maybe you've been struggling with a health concern. This eclipse might bring the conclusion of that to help you up level to a higher realm now. So keep flexible with regard to, how you're using your body, what your body is, how your body is displaying to the world. Maybe your image might change as well. This first house is the house of our image. So you might decide, I'm sick and tired of dressing in vintage clothing all the time. I'm going to go for the androgynous look now. And you start, going for a whole new image, a whole new outlook on life and persona that you will now present to the world. That can change with this eclipse here, total change in direction. So you need to remain flexible to what your heart is calling you to, the journey that you are on, where you are being, guided to be in terms of where you live, in terms of the career that you have and the relationships that you have. You might experience changes in all these realms now. The first house correlates to our journey, and those things play a massive play in a very strong way to how our lives and our journeys go. So those things could experience some change right now, and you'll need to remain flexible with regard to those things too. But the first house is the self and the honoring of the self, asserting ourself, our self-will. So you guys might need to change direction, change tactic, change the way it manifests for you in terms of your assertion. Maybe you need to get more assertive. And I spoke about this in last week's video as well for Cancer people. But it's another reminder here with the full moon here that you might need to change how you are interacting with people in your world. You might need to change and become more assertive, become a bit more selfish, become a bit more aligned with who you are and what you really want in life. And that can actually be supported now by the eclipse. I will also point out, for both Capricorn and Cancer people who are rising signs, this is the eclipse on this axis, which is the relationship axis, can actually bring in a relationship. If that's something you've been looking for, if that's something you've been longing for and you're single, it is a time, especially if it's falling bang on to the degree that you can manifest a person in your life, a relationship in your life now. So take note of all the people who are crossing your path. You never know, one of them might just be part of your destiny. For Cancer people, Venus rules Libra, your 4th house, and Taurus, your 11th house. And so with Venus ruling into its exaltation in Pisces, you guys might be finding things lighten up in the realm of home, family, community, maternal line, relationships with the parents. Things might get a bit easier now. Also, the 11th house of rewards and gains, connections with friends and social groups. It's in these realms that you might find things lighten up as well. Maybe you've been having some challenges with friendships or friendship groups. Now with Venus, you're ruling the planet that rules your 11th house, moving into the sign of Pisces. Things might get really good for you, really lighten up and happy. You might have some very pleasurable, pleasant experiences with friends over the coming few days while Venus sojourns through Pisces. So if we are Leo rising, Well, the energy of the lunar eclipse is falling in your 12th house, and I did speak about karma for you guys as one of the remedies last week. So check that video out if you haven't already. But it's here in the 12th house that you are going to need to be flexible, that there might be some change of direction in your life. So we spoke about this being a karmic house, and it's your karma might change with this eclipse. You might go from being somebody who is dealing with a lot of seeds of wounding and hurt and frustration, and this eclipse might now bring you to a place where beautiful karma starts manifesting, blessed karma starts manifesting, and you're finding that life is sending you its rewards now because you've purged and you've released all your old yucky, gunky karma from your psyche, and there's space now for the good to enter in. So you might be receiving karmic rewards now if you're Leo rising. This is also a house of dissolution of the self. So this is a very interesting time for Leo people, because Leo rising people can be very self-assured and confident, which is something I love about Leo rising people. This is also for Sun and Moon Leo people as well, but to a lesser extent than the rising sign. And it's the dissolution of who you are that we can see by this this eclipse in your 12th house. So there can be a change of direction in who you are. You might have always been known as, the confident one who'd jump up on stage and be the one to grab the mic and, talk and lead people and whatever. And then along comes this eclipse in the 12th house, and suddenly you don't want to be that person anymore. There's a dissolution of who you are known as. And you might find that now you'd really rather be sitting at the back end of the hall, letting someone else take center stage. Very unlike Leo. But this can be one of the repercussions of the eclipse, is we can change who we are. And I'd encourage you to keep flexible about how that manifests for you in your life. Remain flexible and open to the change of direction. Now, I've given you an example that's probably not likely to happen when you're Leo rising. It's probably going to happen in some other way, because Leo rising people always love to be center stage, generally, unless there's something in their chart directing them away from that. But what I'm trying to say here is that there will be some change and dissolution of how you've always been, dissolution of the person you've always known yourself as you re-emerge and are reborn into some new way of being and being present. So a big change of direction for you and the self, karmically induced, I might add as well. And at a practical, tangible level, it might mean some changes in your creative expression, your spiritual ideas, where you like to go for a holiday. That might change too, because the 12th house is holidays. Your idea of what good escapism is can change. So expect changes regarding 12th house things for Leo rising people. And we also need to look at where we've got Libra and where we've got Taurus. And in this case, it's the 10th house of career and the 3rd house of our learning, writing, speaking, communicating, and small business. So these realms where we might suddenly find there's a sense of ease for us, because the ruler of these realms has just gone into its exaltation in Pisces. So your learning processes might become easier. Your ability to communicate now might just flow. Your ability to, you might be interested in reading more books now, or studying something new, or you might even find that your small business starts to flow a bit better, and things start to come to you and manifest for you a lot easier now, because that's what Libra rules in the 3rd house, and Taurus rules career. So you might find, if you're a Leo person, that suddenly your career just happens to bubble along with so much more ease now and lightness. There's a sense of fun and enjoyableness about your endeavors, your worldly achievements. There's less struggle, there's less pushing, there's less striving now, with Venus being in its exaltation. Virgo rising people, boom, you guys. If you're Virgo rising, well, this moon, this eclipse lunar moon, is falling in your 11th house. So you might have to be a bit more flexible now about your friendships, because this is the 11th house realm. Friendships, networks, social groups. And this is where you might find there's a change of direction. You might leave your one social group that you've always been hanging out with and decide, oh, they're just not on my wavelength anymore, or I think differently now, and I think I need to find friends who are more my people, more my tribe. So you might actually change direction with regard to friendship groups now, leaving some friends behind, finding new friends. That can happen. So stay flexible, stay open to where the universe is leading you with regards to your friendships and your associations and so forth. There can be some final endings, and you guys can experience the end of some friendships, particularly friendships with women, when this eclipse unfolds in your 11th house. So watch out for that. But it's all right, it's all good, it's part of up leveling, it's where we're trying to get to and head to. And perhaps there's been people in your life that are holding you back and blocking you from that, and the eclipse is going to release you and send you more on your correct trajectory now. The Venus rules Libra here, your 2nd house, and it also rules your 9th house of Taurus. And Venus has just gone into its exaltation in Pisces. And so it's in the 2nd house that things might become more easy for you now, more blessed for you now, making money, feeling a sense of self-love and self-worth, having some collections of fine things in life, in going out and enjoying the pleasures of life might just now flow a little bit easier for you. With Venus, its ruler in exaltation, and also 9th house is your beliefs. And you might find that you get epiphanies. Aha! Fine. Oh, I understand what they're on about in Buddhism when they're talking about this and about karmic retribution and blah, 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 blah. And everything gels, everything makes sense. There's an ease of understanding of higher principles and philosophies and beliefs and cultural activities now. It all just gels for you and manifests more easily for you now with the ruler of the sign of Taurus moving into its exaltation. So something to look forward to and enjoy. For Libra rising people, there we are. Libra rising people, well, the full moon energy happens to be falling in your house of career. So you can expect some changes in career direction now, or a need to remain flexible in some way. Maybe you'd always thought that you could make money doing tarot card reading, and the eclipse occurs and you're like, you know what, this isn't doing it for me anymore. I feel like I need to broaden what I offer or change what I offer. You know what, I'm going to start doing energy healing as well as tarot. So you combine the two and you work with the two. So there's a change in direction for you with your career. You need to be flexible and listening and open to what the universe is saying and go with it. Trust your intuition now. You can also expect some final endings, maybe with a boss, maybe with some authority figure now. So things can conclude if you're Libra rising or sun or moon. You can find that this eclipse brings about the end of maybe you've been in a court case and dealing with a certain judge, and maybe that comes to an end now. You're no longer dealing with that judge. They're no longer hearing your case, and things shift and things change. So changes of direction based on the loss of an authority figure. Eclipse in the 10th house. And so you will need to remain flexible about who you're dealing with in terms of authority now, because there's likely to be a shift and a change there. Now, for you guys, you're also looking at Venus ruling your sign as well as your 8th house. And Venus has just moved into exaltation. So you might find that your life as a Libra, sun, moon, or rising person now takes on a tone of more ease and more joy, more pleasure as Venus moves into its exaltation and rules Libra. Things lighten up for you. This is your first house lord, so things get lighter, things get more pleasurable, things get more enjoyable for you in your journey of life now. But you've also got the ruler of the 8th house, which is anything to do with changes, crises, transformations. That's going to happen with more ease now, more flow. You're not going to have to push and strive to make change. You're not going to have to battle against the transformation that's trying to take place. It will now happen for you Libra people with more delight, more pleasure. Like, you know what it's like when you're just longing for a shift. You've been dealing with shit for so long and you're just ready for the change in momentum. Well, you want to transform and you're waiting for the transformation to come. That's what this feels like. Suddenly it's here. At last. Relief. Things have changed. I've left that old cycle behind and now I'm into this new blessed cycle or whatever. It's an energy of more ease with transformation, more ease with change now for you guys, because Venus for the next little while is sitting in the sign of Pisces and it rules your 8th house of change and transformation. Scorpio people, well, if you're Scorpio rising, the full moon is falling in the 9th house for you. The lunar eclipse is falling in the 9th house. So it's with regard to your beliefs. It's with regard to your spiritual understandings, maybe your philosophical understandings as well, that you need to stay flexible and you need to be prepared for change. So it's this realm that you might find with this eclipse. Suddenly you've always believed in Stoicism, and then you get a sense of enlightenment, and oh, that's really not for me. Now I'm going to go down this road of following Epicureanism or something, and your philosophical beliefs take a shift, take a turn for whatever reason. So it's quite an exciting thing in the 9th house. The 9th house is a blessed house. This eclipse will be trining your ascendant, and the sun will be sextiling. So this is actually quite a beautiful energy to receive. I think you Scorpio people are going to be very well supported through this period of the eclipse, and what it brings you can be very, very beautiful, certainly in terms of your perceptions of the world, your worldly understanding, and maybe even bring you the chance to travel or explore, to move home, maybe even the moon in the house of to shift, to travel. You might find that you spend a little bit of time living somewhere else for a bit. That can also manifest for you as well. And if it does, it will happen with ease. Okay, so we're also looking at the fact that Venus rules Libra, and it also, which is your 12th house, and Taurus, which is your 7th house. Venus has just moved into its sign of exaltation, which is Pisces. So the things that it rules are going to now bubble up in our lives with more ease, more pleasure, more delightedness. So anything spiritual, anything that has to do with other cultures and other countries is going to manifest for us with ease. Maybe we've been wanting to take a holiday overseas. Maybe we've been wanting to get in touch with our more spiritual understandings, and we haven't had time, or things have been too busy, too hectic, and then suddenly Venus moves into Pisces. Suddenly we've got the time to read that spiritual book and gain that further bit of enlightenment. Now we've got the time to take that 4-day trip to Vanuatu and have just a little break. This is what can occur when we have Venus, ruler of the 12th house, moving into Pisces. Things can lighten up for us, and our karma can lighten up for us as well. Maybe we've been dealing with some karmic seeds that were perhaps a bit yucky, our nasty karma, especially with Pluto Saturn conjunction going on. But then Venus, ruler of our house of karma, moves into its exaltation in Pisces, and things can lighten up, and we can start seeing a few of the rewards for our karmic endeavors that are more positive, that are more blessed now. We can also, because Venus rules your 7th house, have better relationships now. Your business partnerships, your relationships with clients, your relationships with an audience, or with a marriage partner or committed other half, can now take on a lot more lightness, a lot more blessing, can be a bit more romantic. Pisces is very romantic, and Venus is the planet of love and romance. Things can get a bit more enjoyable in that realm for you now if you are a Scorpio rising person and you have a significant other in that way. If not, your business partners, or like I said, your audience or clients, can actually have a much more fulfilling relationship and a blessed relationship, an easy relationship now, with the ruling planet of your 7th house being in its exaltation. Sagittarius rising people, well, hello guys, this is falling for you in your 8th house. So for you, this is where you might find there's some final endings occurring. The lunar eclipse falling in your 8th house. The 8th house is a house of transformation. It is a house of endings and new beginnings. That must always be added. This is not a house of death. People often think the 8th house correlates to death because it's a house of death, but it's the house of death and new beginnings. So transformations, the beginning of a new cycle, going through crisis and emerging reborn. So with this eclipse falling in your 8th house, this is what you need to be flexible about. How is the universe trying to change your experience in a big dramatic way right now? Well, just know the eclipse is going to support that happening. So keep flexible. You will have big changes of direction, you Sagittarius rising people. There's going to be, for you guys with this eclipse falling in your 8th house, the changes of direction are going to happen suddenly, out of the blue, unexpectedly, and be very clear. So pay attention. You'll know which way to go. Maybe you have been I don't know, maybe you've been, Sagittarius is connected with publishing and writing. So maybe you have been working in a certain field, and you've had aspirations in the back of your mind to write that great novel, the next War and Peace or something, and you just haven't had time or whatever, and then something occurs, some cataclysmic event that's brought on by the eclipse in the 8th house that changes your direction of your life, and suddenly you've got the time and you've got the energy and you've got the momentum to write that next great novel. Les Miserables, better look out, because your novel's going to just beat the band. So that can occur for you. You can have a change of direction that supports your journey in some way. 8th house is not always bad. People think the 8th house is negative, but it's actually very supportive for our journey. It's also a house of healing. So you could find that there can be some transformations in terms of healing for you at a psychological level brought on by this eclipse for you guys, which is quite lovely actually. There will be some final endings. So maybe you've been dealing with anxiety or some sort of psychological problem, and there could be some final endings brought about by this eclipse that allow that to wind up, and suddenly you're set free. That's no longer an issue for you in some way. Endings in relationships or intimacy can happen. Perhaps a little less likely, depends on where your planets are falling in your chart. This is a house of intimacy and intimate connections with others. So the lunar eclipse falling here can sometimes indicate endings. It is a house of divorce as well. But there would need to be certain significant planets falling in very significant spots that cause a triggering of that to occur. So I don't want anyone to panic just because you're having an eclipse falling in the house of divorce, thinking, oh my God, my relationship's doomed. Not always the case. In fact, very rarely the case. You need to have your natal planets playing into this as well. So don't panic about that. Now, where is Libra and Taurus? You've got Libra falling as your 11th house, and you have Taurus falling as your 6th house. And it's in these realms that you can find life gets a bit more easy, a bit more blessed, because the ruler of these two signs, Venus, has just moved into its exaltation down here in Pisces. And so 11th house friendships might now take on an easier note. You're no longer struggling to feel connected, to feel a sense of belonging, to feel a sense of community. It just happens. It just flows. You find a new circle of friends, and you feel like you've found your tribe, you've found your people. Beautiful energy with this rulership. And also 6th house, you might find your health, your well-being is blessed now. With Venus moving into Pisces, suddenly that diet you have been trying to get started on, you decide, screw that diet, I'm just going to live healthy from now on, and it's going to be my lifestyle, not a diet. And things start to work, things start to gel, things start to flow. You get a new exercise routine, you really love it. You start eating really beautiful, healthy food, and you just love it, and it just flows, and it's easy now to make those changes to your routine, to your daily life, to your health, to your well-being that really set you up for a successful year ahead. So that is a blessing from Venus moving into the sign of Pisces and ruling those two signs. Going to go backwards for a moment there. We won't do that. Capricorn energy. Bit clunky today, the old wheel. Capricorn energy is falling obviously in the 1st house, but the lunar eclipse is occurring in your 7th house. For Capricorn and Cancer people, this is the potential when we have an eclipse on our ascendant or in our ascendant relationship axis. It means that if we're single, relationship can eventuate for us, can be a result of this eclipse. Now, it depends if it's falling on planets or your ascendant degree or significant points, but the potential is there, especially with all this energy happening in Capricorn, with all those planets and activating by opposition the 7th house. In Vedic astrology, when that occurs, we can actually really switch on the energy of partnership and relationship in our lives. So if you're single, you're Capricorn or Cancer rising, just know this is your time when you could potentially meet that very special, significant other. Now, if you're married, you might need to remain a bit more flexible, because this eclipse brings the energy of change of direction. For example, if you're single, change of direction might be suddenly you're partnered. Now, I'm not saying it's going to bring divorce. That this is not the house of divorce. The house of divorce is the 8th house, so it's not what it's heralding here, but there might be a change with your relationship dynamic. You might find that you're just drifting apart and things weren't going very well for you, but then along comes the eclipse and suddenly, boom, you're back together, you're in love again, there's romance in the air, things are supporting your relationship now. And whatever happens with relationships, that can be business partners, it can be clients, it can be your audience, as well as intimate relationships. But whatever happens, remember it's for your highest good. The eclipse eclipses get my words out, want to take us to our destiny, our overall life trajectory. And if we've strayed from the path, what an eclipse will do is kick us back onto the path, get us in the right direction. So if your relationship is not serving you, it might go. But if it's also struggling and it's where you're meant to be, you're learning from this relationship, it's helping you, your business partnership is helping your business to blossom, but you've got a little bit off track with your business partner for a while there, then the eclipse might kick you back into alignment with that person, with that connection, with that relationship that needs to happen for your higher good. So that we need to be prepared for these changes of direction with relationships when we're Capricorn rising right now. It's where we need to remain flexible, and we can also expect some final endings of situations, such as the one I described for being single. Maybe there's an ending with a business partner or a client or a member of your audience. Maybe there's an ending of some way of being with your intimate significant other and re-emerging into some new style of relationship with them. I'm a big believer in the fact that we do not stay married to the one person for life. We marry many people, and sometimes that can be the same person, but we change so much through life that essentially by the end of a lifetime at 90 years old, we've been married to 4 different people because our partner has changed so much, as have we, throughout the course of a lifetime. So we need to be flexible and open to the changes in our partner and the changes in us that then affect the dynamics of our relationship. So expect some endings in the dynamics of your relationship in some way, and be prepared and flexible for embracing the new person that your partner becomes, and maybe that you become as well. Now we look to where Taurus is and Libra is to tell us about what is going to get easier in our life now. Libra rules the 10th house for Capricorn rising people. So because Venus has moved into its exaltation in Pisces, your career, which is ruled by Venus, is going to get a bit more easy now. Things are going to flow, things are going to be lighter. Your relationships with authority figures might be uplifted and buoyant and much more happy now. Venus, exalted in Pisces, brings its rulership of your 10th house into buoyancy, lightness, breeziness. So there's some blessing here in career for you as things lighten up. And also in the 5th house, love can become much more light, much more pleasurable, much more enjoyable now, as the ruler of your 5th house is in exaltation. Your relationship with your children can become easier, much less arguing, more refined, more happy now. And your creative expression also can take a lighter approach, and you'll enjoy your creative expression more. It will bring you delight, it will bring you happiness and pleasure much more during the next few weeks when we have Venus moving through the sign of Pisces. Okay, getting near the end. Hello, Aquarius people, my lovely, much adored Aquarius rising people, or sun or moon if you like. But remember, Aquarius rising is the stronger energy here, not the moon or the sun. That's to a lesser degree. Aquarius rising, well, you guys are going to experience the full lunar eclipse in the 6th house. So this can mean some changes with work, some changes with your health and routine. So keep flexible regarding your health and routine. Keep flexible regarding your diet, because if you are flexible, the changes of direction that will come with this eclipse in your house of work and everyday routines and paying the bills, the changes that come can be beneficial. So you might suddenly develop a new way of eating, or a new way of exercising, or a new routine. You might get a new job that helps you pay the bills, or you might lose an old job that you really weren't happy in, that was kind of wasting your time and keeping you from your destiny. So just know that there's some endings that can occur, maybe the end of one way of eating and the beginning of a new way of eating, or the end of a job. That's what happened to me when I had an eclipse in my 6th house. I certainly lost my job, and it pushed me into what I do now, which is the love of my life, my teaching astrology to others. It's been the best thing that ever happened to me. So just know your sixth house realm of work, everyday routines, diet and health and well-being is all about to go through a change, and a new cycle is being born. So be flexible, be open, and be patient with the changes as they occur, and expect final endings. Maybe some kind of a, well, I lost a very dear friendship when this occurred in my sixth house, but obviously it wasn't serving me. It wasn't part of my destiny to have that friendship in my life, and it was a work colleague. So we can, our work colleagues can sometimes disappear, and we can lose those connections as well. But we need to stay flexible. There can be some final endings to this realm of life, and with endings comes new beginnings. Keep that in mind. So keep flexible. There will be changes of direction. There can be some final endings to this realm of life. And we also need to look at where we have Taurus and Libra, because the ruler of Taurus and Libra is Venus. It's just gone into its exaltation in the sign of Pisces. So these realms are going to get lighter and easier for us to navigate now. Taurus actually rules your fourth house. So this is beautiful. This means that home life, connection to community and family and heritage and roots and lineage and mother can lighten up now, can get beautiful now, can be fun now. Maybe you'll take a holiday with your mum, go on a trip with mum, or maybe you do some work around the home and you do some renovations, and they just look fantastic and beautiful, and everything just flows. There's no hiccups, no problems with builders. Everything just works. Life becomes easy in the home realm for you now with the exalted ruler of your fourth house. And also here in the ninth house, Libra, a beautiful energy. This is the house of belief, the house of faith, the house of trust, and this is where things are going to get easy for you now. Maybe you doubted before in the goodness of the universe. Maybe you didn't feel like the universe had your back. Now, with Venus moving into exaltation and ruling your ninth house, the ability to trust just flows to you. The ability to see the synchronicity in the universe is so much easier now. It's highlighted for you. And your immersion in other cultural experiences, the benefit you receive from mentors and inspirational figures is just, out of this world. You might find yourself reading more spiritual books or philosophy books or books on enlightenment that take you to another realm, or you connect with someone who's maybe has a beautiful spirituality that you just admire so much, and that blesses your life and uplifts your life, and you experience this energy of blessing in terms of faith, trust, belief, and hope right now. So that's what will happen when Venus, ruler of your ninth house, moves into its exaltation for the next couple of weeks. Now, Pisces. What is happening for those of us with Pisces rising or sun or moon, but mostly for the rising signs? That's where it's going to be most strongly felt. The energy of the full moon is falling in your fifth house, and this is where you're going to receive an eclipse. So if you've got any planets around this degree in the fifth house, you're going to really feel this. Also, if you have any planets at the 19th, 20th, 21st degree of Libra, Aries, or Capricorn too. But for you guys, fifth house is where you can expect some changes of direction. This will be changes of direction in love. Maybe you've been casually dating someone for a while, you've been out for dinner a couple of times or whatever, and then this eclipse occurs and suddenly they want to take it to the next level, and you're like, wow, well, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I'm so there. So there's a change in direction with your dating life, with the romance that's in your life, with your love life. Maybe there's a change of direction with your children, and the relationship with your children alters. Maybe they like me, I'm a single mum. Maybe the eclipse occurs and suddenly their dad wants to have them more often, and so you arrange, instead of being a full-time single mum, being a 50-50 share parent. Just one hypothetical situation. I'm not saying that's going to happen to me, but it could look like that. There's a change in direction with regards to your parenting or relationship with your children in some way. So it's in these areas with lovers, with children, with our creative self-expression. As Pisces rising people, we need to remain flexible and open to where the universe is directing the energy. And it's going to happen to get us back on track or to take us more towards our destiny. So, be open, be flexible, be embracing of what the universe sends us. For example, if suddenly the kids are going to spend, 1 week out of 2 with dad, well, bring it on. Let's be more flexible about that. Let's be more open about that happening instead of being difficult. And, the universe, it's what we do now that can cause great karmic repercussions. So we need to act with integrity and lightness and good intent, sowing good seeds now at the lunar eclipse for the blessing in the future. So be flexible, open to changes of direction, and also be open to final endings. Maybe a dating experience is coming to an end, and maybe you're not going to see that person anymore, and they've had enough. Thanks very much. Or maybe the end, like I just described a moment ago, the end of the dating courtship period concludes, and you move into actually having a solidified relationship. So it can be an ending of that nature. It doesn't always have to be, there's some great horrific loss. Some endings are meaning moving from one cycle into the next. Maybe there's an ending of, how you are expressing your creativity in the world. For example, maybe you've always written, like me, I'm an astrologer, maybe you've always written your horoscopes down for people to read on a blog, and you decide, enough of that, I'm going to start doing YouTube videos, and you start to write do your horoscopes in a verbal form. So a change of your creative expression and your creative intelligence, and it transforms into something different. So they're just a few examples of how this energy might play out. We also need to look at where Taurus falls and Libra falls, because it's in these realms of life that we're going to find more ease, more lightness now. And this is because, let's hold on to this correctly, Venus has moved into Pisces, its exaltation, our first house. So we're going to experience more love, more joy, more ease and pleasure in our first house realm. Yes, that's going to happen for us, but also with the things that Venus rules. So just on that again, more love and joy for Pisces rising people over the next little while. Thumbs up for that. But in the third house too, where Taurus is, we're going to experience life moving more lightly with more ease and more pleasure. This can be in a small business. If we run a small business, it might become easy now, and we develop and generate interest in our business easily. Our advertising and marketing campaigns just really work for us right now. We might find that our ability to learn new information and communicate new information and share information takes on an ease and a lightness and a pleasure that it hasn't had before. So that's a blessing with Venus ruling Taurus being in its exaltation, and also the 8th house. 8th house is transformations, 8th house is change, 8th house is connection to the occult, to astrology, to mysticism. We might find that it's very easy to connect with other realms now. If we do a shamanic journeying, as I'm planning to do during this time, funnily enough, if we do some shamanic journeying, if we do some spend time out under the stars, we can find that this just flows with us. The connection to the divine, the connection to our higher self, maybe the connection to past lives can actually flow with ease and brings us a sense of insight and pleasure out of these things and joy out of these things. So it's mystical activation that can really be blessed with Venus being exalted at the moment for Pisces rising people. We might also find that change and transformation occurs for us very easily now. We evolve, we grow, we move into the springtime of our lives and the blossom time, the benefit of our lives with ease now. We can, maybe it's an indicator we can leave behind the underworld. We might have been having underworld experiences for years, and now we can move into the pleasurable happiness, and Venus makes that happen in an easy way. So it's all these 8th house realms. Maybe we might even get the opportunity to receive from the world. It's a house of receiving. We might receive easily now. Maybe some sort of remuneration, some sort of inheritance, some sort of support from the world might just flow to us in a very easy manner now, with Venus being in exaltation in our sign, the sign of Pisces. So lots of goodies unfolding for us, and lots of interesting changes on the doorstep too with this week's energy. So let's close with a prayer. Great Spirit of love, be present in this week. We ask that you surround us and wrap us up in kindness, wrap us up in love, and may we experience the blessing of the universe as we navigate these difficult and very interesting times of change and transformation. Help us to be open and flexible, And more than anything, help us to give love so that we create space in our life to receive love as well. Thank you for all the beautiful intent that the universe has for us through this eclipse, to direct us to our higher calling and to manifest our life destiny in the best way possible. Help us to see the path and to follow it in truth. And so it is. Well, thanks for joining me for this week's Astro Weather Report. I will have another Astro Weather Report for you next week, and I will catch you then.